Boss up.
is Jalen Anthony Rowe.
What up, Doug?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it?
We get it, people.
Yes.
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 Oh.
Happy Friday, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Be responsible. You know I am a LeBron James stan. You know I am a die easy Laker fan. So I really enjoyed what happened last night in the Staples Center. The Lakers needed a win. After losing to the Hawks right before the break, they needed a win, and they got one against the Rockets. But Jalen, look at this. They were losing during the game, and you could see LeBron James, just bad body language, unhappy with his teammates. You could tell that he was frustrated. How frustrating is it for LeBron? Is this bad leadership from LeBron? Is this just normal basketball behavior, or is this something that he should probably fix?
I think when you've accomplished so very much like LeBron James, take it away from sports. It's like being an elder statesman or being an adult and watching young people continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. You're going to get frustrated. So.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens with him. Like, he's one of the smartest, most disciplined, team-oriented basketball players that the game has seen.
His basketball IQ is almost too high.
Correct.
It's almost too high. He
No
wants
doubt.
everyone to make the perfect play all the time.
Correct.
And sometimes, like, that's not the way it works.
So like, when you swing the ball to KCP, you assume that he know to just dump it down to me.
I got Austin Rivers on
I
got
me.
Austin Rivers 150 pounds.
And then he just take a contested three over a 6'11" guy. So that's really what that is. But also for LeBron, leading by example. And so certain players know the difference when you've been around a long time and in a leadership position between the guys that need a pat on the back versus those that need a kick in the butt.
And that's not just basketball, that's life.
Correct. And so what I see from LeBron is he understands that the pulse of his team needs the ladder. And that's what he's doing when he gets frustrated. You see him talking to him in the huddle. You see him sitting 2 or 3 seats down. You'll see him put his head down and stumble back on D. But ultimately, it recharges him. And it allows him to say, you know what? Okay, that's why I'm here, to take over. And certain plays embody that, like when he went down the lane and got that big-time dunk.
So he said, quote unquote, I love our squad. Jalen. We know that he would love his squad more if half y'all weren't here and Anthony Davis was. Do you think he really loves his squad, or he just loves the one he's with?
He loves the one he's with. Trade deadline is passed.
Nothing you can do about it.
All-Star break is passed.
Nothing you can do about it.
Already had his week or so off. And this team has shown a level of inconsistency that can't afford for him not to show buy-in. When you struggle at Philly, and then you win at Boston.
Barely.
Then you lose at Atlanta. Against the Rockets, they were down 19 at home.
They looked like they were going to lose that game.
Before they came back. In the game they won against the Celtics, they were also trailing by a large deficit. So this isn't necessarily a turning point for this team. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep some level of consistency. And it was good for them last night as it relates to their playoff run that the Sacramento Kings were at Golden State.
And we will get to
they
them
lost
later.
as well.
But the Rockets, they left Staples Center salty. They left the Staples Center upset last night. A lot of it had to do with the officiating. When you see some of the plays that they were concerned about, it didn't really seem like they had too much beef. But after the game, so you see this play right here was a controversial play. Brandon Ingram, he got fouled. Like, to me, watching that play, watching it live, I was like, oh, it's a foul. Didn't you feel like that was a foul? But they didn't feel like it was a foul.
That definitely was a foul on Chris Paul in particular.
And Chris Paul was the one who was complaining about it. He got a tech. Harden got a tech. D'Antoni got a tech. And after the game, James Harden did not hold back with his post-game comments. Let's listen to the Beard.
Scott Foster, man, he's I never really talk about officiating or anything like that, but just rude and arrogant.
You feel like it's a personal issue?
Yeah, for sure. For sure it's personal. For sure. Like, I don't think he should be able to even, officiate our games anymore, honestly.
I like that he said it with his chest, but the reality of it is Scott Foster has been around a really long time. And like players, officials do make mistakes. Like players, officials do hold grudges.
Yep.
And in basketball, there are a lot of judgment calls. So therefore, if I don't like you and or I don't respect you and or vice versa, if there's a potential travel versus not calling it, that's the benefit of the doubt you may or may not get. How about a block charge? How about 3 seconds? How about a first quarter call? How about a fourth quarter call? How about a rookie call? How about a veteran call? How about a superstar call?
Jalen.
We just talked about this with Joel Embiid. What do you think James Harden and Joel Embiid rank amongst the league in free throws attempted and made?
First and second.
First and second.
Can I say something? On behalf of the people, James Harden, I love your game. I'm not one of those people that's mad at your game. But you are complaining about officials? You, dog? You are complaining about the officiating? You? I love your game. I've been in the Drew League. I've seen you forever. Like, I'm a James Harden supporter. I'm not one of those people that doesn't like his game.
No, you 100.
But I'm saying, you should not be complaining about officiating.
Some of the plays that embody travel in today's game are plays where James Harden is doing his double step back.
Step back, step back, step back.
And so, like, he also is a guy that creates contact driving to the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching that game, and the couple of calls that were offensive fouls were actually legit.
Yeah.
LeBron James got there and took the charge, and that was his 6th foul. That was legit.
That was legit. He was outside the restricted area. He was standing still. You bumped into him.
And also, what that exposes, and I talk about this a lot, I saw the Spurs do this to the Rockets a couple of years ago when they eliminated them from the playoffs.
Yep.
You suffocate the 3 line, you force the guy to drive. You have somebody at the hoop to help because all of the real estate between the 3 line and the layup,
They don't want it.
they don't want it.
And you can, I mean, it's at some point, you have to zig when everyone else is zagging. Like, at some point, if you're the Rockets, especially in a playoff series, you're saying they're gonna run us off the 3-point line and they're gonna have a 7-footer in the middle to rim protect. We're just gonna pull up from 10 and 8.
That would have eliminated a couple of those charges. And also, I don't know if it's LA, I don't know if it's the Staples Center, but if I'm a member of the Rockets, in particular their coaching staff or one of their best players, we get really emotional when we get to LA.
It is.
Okay, we had our incident with the Clippers where players were trying to get to their locker room.
Yup, and then
You
with
had the
Rondo.
fight with Rondo and Chris Paul, and then now you have this outburst. So that should be something that they got to try to make sure that they curtail, especially if they're going to play this team in the playoffs.
Do you think that it is because the large stage? Like, there's something about Madison Square Garden and Staples Center that players just approach it differently. Do you think that's something to do with it?
Inherently, that's why I bring it up, because James Harden is from California.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul played for the Clippers and almost got traded to
The Lakers.
the Lakers. So that big stage creates a heightened sense of emotion that I think continues to play out in a negative light for their team.
Jalen, you know I think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. You have been on wax saying they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's just take a look at where they're at now. I'm not going to overreact to one game, but they are now just a game and a half back on the Clippers, who aren't trying to make the playoffs, and the Kings, who just lost to the Warriors. Jalen, are you still going to say into a microphone that the Lakers will not make the playoffs? Because you're going to be wrong if you do.
I don't believe that they will. And it's not because LeBron James has not been playing terrific when he's been on the floor. It's not because of Kyle Kuzma's emergence like I predicted that he would as a big-time scorer in today's game and productive player. It's that they are getting people's best shot with that Lakers bullseye on their chest and having LeBron James on their team.
Jalen Rose, if the Lakers make the playoffs, will you do an entire hour of Jalen Jacoby wearing a wig?
If I don't have a cut that day.
You don't get a cut for this show. You only get cuts for Countdown. Moving on. Big game in the Eastern Conference last night.
Now I'm going to show you how the East Coast rocks.
The Celtics went into Milwaukee to face the Bucks. It was a close game that came down to the very last possession, and the Bucks got the win. Defensive matchup. Both teams scored under 100 points for the game.
Get it
Haven't
out.
seen that in quite some time. What did you see about this Eastern Conference head-to-head matchup? Here is Kyrie missing the last shot.
The Bucks defend. And that's something that probably is not a sexy thing when you start talking about like what makes a team go. I think, but based on Giannis, who embodies positionless basketball, like so many times even when I was young, we talked about guys playing 5 positions, especially when Magic jumped center as a rookie and ended up winning MVP when the Lakers won the championship. And then when you had these versatile players like LeBron James. But guess what? You don't want Magic Johnson or LeBron James guarding a center.
No.
And a lot of times you don't want them guarding a small, quick point guard.
No.
The Greek Freak, he's guarding 5 positions.
Jalen, I have to ask you a question. I have a confession to make. I know they got the best record in the NBA. I know they got an MVP candidate. I don't believe in the Bucks. Explain to me why I don't believe in the team with the best record in the National Basketball Association.
So I respect and fear the deer. You remember when they took Giannis, I started calling them team futuristic because I just felt like his level of versatility was going to be transcended.
Mm-hmm.
What you're used to seeing from the best team in the league is them having multiple perennial all-stars.
Yes.
And so, like, when you see on paper that the Greek Freak leads the Bucks, shout to Middleton, who was an all-star this year and well-deserved.
He squeaked into the All-Star game.
And then when you looked at the Raptors, you see Kawhi Leonard, you see Pascal Siakam emerging.
Lowry.
You're like, okay, cool. But what ends up happening is you're trying to figure, is that a regular season style that's going to be able to transfer to the playoffs? Because when you look at the rosters of Philadelphia and Boston,
All-stars.
correct me if I'm wrong,
Superstars.
you see star power.
Yes.
And you know what wins usually in the playoffs?
Star power.
And so that's why right now the Bucks and the Raptors are going to have a proving ground for their doubters. And that's what the game is all about.
I don't see the Bucks or the Raptors making the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't see it. And depending how the seeding works out, I mean, you never know how the seeding is going to work out, but it feels to me that the best teams in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, are the Sixers and the Celtics.
Well, the best regular season teams. And so there's a different style. Portland falls into this too. How they're a team that hovers around 3 to 6 every year.
Yep.
Including last year.
The last 5 years they've
but
been
when
between
people
3 and
talk
6.
about contending, they never bring them up.
Nope.
Because it seems like they've embodied a regular season style. That's what you're saying about the Bucks and the Raptors. We'll see if they're able to prove you and I wrong, because I actually agree with you for a lot of the reasons you said.
Jalen Rose, you have not yet officially retired from the NBA. For some reason, you feel like your phone's going to ring and someone's going to pick you up on a team. I know you feel that a little bit in your heart. Most retired athletes do. But one person associated with the NBA is definitely retired. That's Don Nelson. And he was asked.
I'm living my best life.
He was asked about how he was handling retirement, and he gave the answer that we were all waiting for. Let's listen to the Don.
Can each of you talk briefly about what you've been doing after basketball? Coach, I know you live in Hawaii, right? So
Yeah, I've been smoking some pot. Yeah, but I never smoked when I played or coached, so it's new to me. But anyway, I'm doing that, and I'm having a pretty good time.
Dog, that wasn't even the question. That wasn't even the question. They're like, I know you live in Hawaii. He's like, yes, I've been smoking some pot. Also, Jalen, why he lying? I never smoked when I played or I coached. What? Don.
That's a failed test.
Are you trying to tell me that you picked up weed at 70 years old? Don.
A small percentage of the population may do such, but here's what I also appreciate. His versatility. Because I've been in the Golden State Warriors locker room when he was the head coach, and I promise you, and this is one of the reasons why it's changed, he had a lot more beer in that cooler than Gatorade, for a fact. And he would sip on a couple of them, like 4 or 5.
Really?
Before he went to the press conference.
Really?
Absolutely.
He was doing 4 beers before the press conference?
The all-time winningest and losingest coach in NBA history.
God, I love Don Nelson.
And he also embodied playing positionless basketball. Think about guys like Manu Bowles shooting the threes. Don Nelson was at the forefront.
I love Don Nelson so much. But Don, don't act like you didn't smoke when you were coaching or playing. We know, Don. Don, we know. Coming up next on Jalen Jacoby, the Warriors were tested last night.
Hey, let me try Mr. Jennings at the 5, even
We'll
though
tell
he's
you
only 5'7".
whether or not they passed.